When people think of a serial killer, they often imagine someone who looks dangerous or obviously disturbed. However, John Wayne Gacy challenges that assumption. This stark contrast between Gacy's public persona and private actions raises an important question. What drives a person to behave in such extreme and contradictory ways? Personality psychology seeks to answer this by examining the internal and external factors that shape behavior. By applying multiple personality theories such as psychoanalytic, trait, and biological perspectives, we can better understand how different frameworks interpret the same individual in different ways. Gacy's case provides a powerful example of how complex human behavior can be and why not just one single theory fully explains it on its own. Biological theory emphasizes genetics, brain structure, and neurochemistry. Gacy's violent behavior might be linked to abnormalities in the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for impulse control or hormonal balances, affecting aggression, where may also be genetic predispositions toward antisocial behavior. Like trait theory, it looks at patterns and tendencies. In contrast, it focuses on biological mechanisms rather than childhood experiences. Psychoanalytic or observable traits, trait theory. Some of the strengths can provide scientific measurable explanations for behavior, can guide research on prevention. Limitations may underplay social and psychological influences. Biological correlation does not imply causation.
So the psychoanalytic theory with John Wayne Gacy covers a few different topics. The first thing would be the unconscious issues. Following his arrest in 1978, there was a number of interviews that Gacy was involved in. While he admitted to some of his acts, he was reported contradicting himself about the extent of his sexual intentions while also minimizing certain behaviors. This was a combination of evidence from crime scenes and testifiers from survivors in court, these psychiatrists to depend on traits and habits as opposed to Gacy's explanations. His responses are from a place of repression and undermining acts, which dives into his unconscious state. Some psychiatrists suggest that he may have had conflicted feelings with his sexuality and identity, which goes hand in hand with what Freud believed, which is when someone represses thoughts or desires that they can't accept. Second psychoanalytic trait would be the childhood experiences of John Gacy. To shed some light on his upbringing, he wasn't raised under the greatest circumstances. He had an abusive father who was either disregarding his achievements or overlooking them, consequently making John feel less than, or he would call John derogatory names like stupid, weak, or sissy, etc. In the psychoanalytic theory, the negative results that can stem from this include things like internalized shame or emotional deprivation that can be shoved into the unconscious. Over time, this can build and lead someone to feel insecure and even apoplectic. Given these repressed feelings from unsolved childhood issues, factors in this case led to bursts of rage. So the last psychoanalytic trait that compared with Gacy's case is the prevalent use of defense mechanisms. Gacy used a number of defense mechanisms after being caught for his crimes. Some of these mechanisms include denial. There are multiple occasions where Gacy didn't fully admit, put the blame on somebody else, or just completely denied the acts that he was said to have carried out. Repression goes back into earlier statements of childhood experiences and him feeling feelings from his childhood and taking out those things in other forms and ways as he got older. Projection. In interviews after his arrest, Gacy sometimes blamed his victims or society for what happened. He suggested that the young men he targeted were quote-unquote looking for trouble and that his role was a response to their behavior. And lastly, rationalization. In interviews, there were times where Gacy acted as if his decisions were out of his control or as if they were inevitable. So they had no choice but to transpire.
After seeing John Wayne Gacy through biological and psychoanalytic lenses, we get part of the picture. But to understand his consistent personality patterns, we need trait theory. On the surface, he seemed like a caring father and friendly neighbor, charming and involved in his community. But as we'll see, there's a deeper incongruence between the person he projected and the actions he committed. Let's hear him talk about it for himself.
That's how he describes himself as a father.
Loving and caring. I've always looked after my children, even now.
What kind of values do you remember imparting to them?
The kind of values?
Were you strict with them too?
No, not as strict as, no. A lot of things that my dad did, I refused to do, because I don't believe in hitting children. I don't believe in spoiling a child either. My values are such that if you give enough love to a children...
You're accused of murdering 33 kids, and you say you didn't believe in hitting. I mean...
Well, anybody that knows... You see, first of all, you're basing this garbage on what you've heard of me.
And what the jury said, and what the courts of appeal have said.
Here you can see the incongruence in his personality, what he projected to the world versus the reality of his actions. Trait theory helps us understand these contradictions. This incongruence made him dangerous. Neighbors trusted him so he could lure victims without suspicion. While the public saw Pogo the clown and that friendly neighbor, Gacy followed predictable trait patterns, very impulsive, low empathy, and manipulativeness. These traits explain why he could commit crimes repeatedly while maintaining the appearance of normality. Trait theory, specifically the Big Five, examines core personality traits that tend to be stable over time. Openness, willing to try new things, conscientiousness, being careful, organized, and disciplined, extroversion, sociable and outgoing, agreeableness, helpful, compassionate, trusting, and neuroticism, tendency to be anxious or emotional. In Gacy's case, his behavior shows high extroversion. He was outgoing and charming in public, but his low agreeableness and low conscientiousness are clear in his lack of empathy, him being very manipulative and disregard for rules. And again, there's the incongruence. He projected the image of a responsible father and community member while secretly committing horrifying crimes. Trait theory is useful because it identifies observable and measurable patterns. We can see how Gacy's personality traits predicted aspects of his behavior. But it doesn't explain why he developed these traits or the deeper unconscious motives behind them. It also doesn't consider biological factors like brain structure and genetics, which other theories explored. Trait theory gives us a clear view of Gacy's stable personality patterns and highlights the gap between his public image and private actions. It shows how his charm, low agreeableness, and low conscientiousness allowed him to manipulate and harm while maintaining the facade of a normal life. Combined with the insights from biological and psychoanalytic perspectives, we get a fuller understanding of how nature, nurture, and personality traits all played a role in his behavior. No single theory explains everything, but together they reveal the complex reality of John Wayne Gacy.